Luke chapter 9. Yeshua called his 12 and gave them power and authority over all demons and diseases to cure them. He sent them out to herald the kingdom of Yehovah and to heal the sick. He told them, "Don't take anything for your journey, no staff, no wallet, no bread, no money, and don't carry a second coat. When you enter a house, stay there until you leave the area. Anywhere people refuse to accept you, when you leave that town, shake the very dust from your feet as a testimony against them." The envoys went traveling around the villages and towns, heralding and healing everywhere. Herod the Tetrarch heard about everything he was doing, and he was disturbed, because some were saying that John had come back to life, but others said that Elijah had reappeared, while others said that one of the ancient prophets had been raised from the dead. Herod said, "I beheaded John, so who is this I am hearing reports about?" And he wanted to meet him. When the envoys returned, they told Yeshua everything that they had done. Then he took them away to an uninhabited area near Bethesda. When the crowd became aware of it, they followed him, and he welcomed them and spoke with them about the kingdom of Yehovah. And those who needed to be healed were healed. His disciples came around near sunset and told him, "Send the crowd away so that they can go into the villages around us and to the farming communities and spend the night and buy some food, because we're in an uninhabited place." Yeshua told them, "You give them something to eat." But they replied, "We have no more than 5 loaves and 2 fish, unless we were to go and buy food for all these people." There were about 5,000 men. Yeshua told them, "Have them sit down in groups of 50. So the disciples had them all sit down. Yeshua took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, looking up to heaven. He blessed and broke it and gave it to his disciples to distribute to the crowds. Everyone ate and was filled, and they picked up many leftover pieces of food. 12 baskets. Once he was praying by himself. The disciples were with him, and he asked them, "Who do the people say that I am?" And they answered, "Some say John the Immerser, others say Elijah, and others say a prophet, one of the ancient prophets who have come back to life." He asked them, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon replied, "Yehovah's Messiah." He gave them strict orders, cautioning them not to tell anyone. He told them the human son is to suffer greatly and to be rejected by the elders and high priests and Torah teachers, and they'll kill him. But on the 3rd day, he'll be raised to life again. He told everyone, "Anyone who wants to follow me must deny themselves and take up the cross daily and follow me. Anyone who would rescue their life will lose it, but anyone who would lose their life for my sake will rescue it. How would a person profit if they were to gain the whole world, but lose or forfeit their eternal life? If anyone is ashamed of me and of my truths, the human son will be ashamed of them when he comes in the splendor of his Father and his messengers. I tell you with absolute certainty that some of you standing here won't experience death until you see the kingdom of Yehovah with your own eyes." About 8 days after these discourses, Yeshua took Simon and James and John and went up onto a mountain to pray. While he prayed, the appearance of his face was changed, and his clothing became white and radiant. Suddenly there were two men talking with him. They were Moses and Elijah, who appeared in an exalted state. They were talking about his departure that was to take place in Jerusalem. Simon and those with him were overcome with drowsiness and barely awake. When they saw his splendor and the two men who stood with him, they were about to leave him. Simon said to Yeshua, "Master, it is delightful for us to be here. Let's make 3 booths here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." But he wasn't aware of what he was saying, because he was barely awake. As he was saying this, a cloud overshadowed them, and they were afraid when they saw Moses and Elijah go up into a cloud. Then a voice came from the cloud and said, "This is my dear son. Listen to him." When the voice was finished, Yeshua was there alone. They kept it to themselves, not telling anyone at that time what they had seen. The next day, after they had come down from the mountain, a large crowd came to meet him. A man from the crowd yelled out, "Master, I beg you to notice me. Here is my only son. A spirit comes on him, and suddenly he's yelling out and grinding his teeth and foaming at the mouth, and he doesn't leave him without pummeling him. I tried to have your disciples cast it out, but they couldn't." Yeshua replied, "You unbelieving and perverse nation, how long must I be with you and put up with you? Bring your son here." While he was bringing him, the demon threw him on the ground in a convulsion. Yeshua scolded the unclean spirit and healed the youth and gave him back to his father. They were all astonished at the majesty of Yehovah. While everyone was expressing amazement at what Yeshua had done, he said to his disciples, "Treasure these words in your mind, because the human son is going to be betrayed into the hands of men." But they didn't understand what he said because their understanding was blocked. So they couldn't understand it, and they were afraid to ask him about it. They began thinking, arguing, about which of them would be the greatest. Yeshua knew their thoughts, so he took a child and had him stand next to him. Then he told them, "Whoever welcomes a child like this in my name welcomes me. And whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me, because the one who is least among you is the greatest." John said, "Master, we saw a man casting out demons in your name, and we stopped him because he wasn't following you like us." Yeshua told them, "Don't stop him, because whoever isn't against you is for you." When the time for his ascension was near, he resolutely headed toward Jerusalem. He sent envoys ahead of him, and they entered a Samaritan village to arrange for his lodging. But they didn't welcome him because he was headed for Jerusalem. When his disciples, James and John, saw it, they asked him, "Master, is it all right if we call for fire to come down from heaven and consume them like Elijah did?" He turned and scolded them and said, "You don't know what kind of spirit you are advocating. The human son didn't come to destroy humanity, but to preserve it." Then they went on to another village. As they traveled along the road, someone told him, I'll follow you wherever you go, Master. Yeshua replied, Foxes have dens, and the birds overhead have nests, but the human son has nowhere to lay his head. He told another, Follow me. But he replied, Master, allow me first to go and bury my father. Yeshua replied, Allow the dead to bury their own dead, but you should go and proclaim the kingdom of Yehovah. Another told him, I'll follow you, Master, but first allow me to say goodbye to my family. Then I'll come. Yeshua replied, No one putting their head to the ox plow and then looking backwards is fit for the kingdom of Yehovah.